to the Indomitable podcast. I'm your host, Di Cerullo, and today we have another great episode that will leave you inspired. My guest today is the indomitable Christina Frye. Christina runs a boutique marketing practice where she helps solo business owners win at marketing by becoming authorities in their field with content-rich strategies. Her holistic marketing approach grew out of a lonely, chaotic time when she moved to Boston to start her business. Out of this was born her marketing Archetypes system. Her 2022 TEDx talk includes some of this journey. Outside of her work, Christina cold plunges like Wim Hof all year long with a large community of knuckleheads, chases her dog around with a stuffed animal snake, meditates on a pink couch, and obsesses over the perfect cup of tea, all in a seaside town just north of Boston. I love it so much. All right, so hello, Christina. I am so grateful to have you here today.
Hey, Di, let's do this.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I was telling you before we got on, your bio is like a seaside shanty. I can feel like it just needs a little guitar pick going on. You should add it. It's fantastic. So tell me a little bit about what we didn't include here in the bio. Who are you?
Yeah. So my life has basically had two really strong tracks since I got out of college. One is marketing, advertising, just doing that. Whether it was for huge ad firms in New York City, all the way to high tech in Silicon Valley, doing beta programs, which were really marketing feedback loops, if I'm being honest, to an engineering firm that my dad owned in Connecticut, to being a youth speaker. Like, it's just always marketing, always like taking care of people's websites and then at the same time, a very strong spiritual path thread that really started in earnest when I was in Berkeley. I just tend to be very overwhelmed quickly a lot of times. And that just gave me what I needed to move forward. So we'll start there.
Right. Okay. So what is marketing?
Ooh, yeah, let's go there.
Yeah, right. What is it?
Yeah. So marketing, just off the cuff, I would say it's a way to build trust in your wider community such that people would actually want to hear you say, hey, are you interested in doing business with me?
Yeah.
Right. There's like a little bit of a hill you need to climb, a little bit to get to that, to earn the right to ask that question.
Right.
And all of that I would put under marketing.
Absolutely. So you understand, or at least you consider, human psychology in your marketing practice. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. So what I noticed in 2016, 2017, when I was just getting going with this form of marketing that I do, is that I was giving people marketing plans and I knew that they would probably sit on a shelf.
Right.
They're like such nice ideas and wow, wouldn't it be nice if? And all of us know that, like, oh my gosh, I'd rather eat my hand off rather than, than do this marketing plan. So I really backed it up and put in the deepest motivation a human can possibly have, I feel, which is, how do you absolutely love helping other humans? Like, forget what you do for work, forget what your expertise is, like what makes you come alive when you help other humans. And so I did this sneaky, it was like a big experiment with 40 business owners over 4 months. And I developed a way to suss that out of people. And what ended up happening, like, your way of loving humans up is different than my way. And I have this really cool way to discover what that is. It's like an inner journey aspect. It's really like embodying, and hence, all the energy management stuff that I mentioned earlier, like that just very much prepared me to do something like that. And that revealed that everybody has their own archetype. And that then, meaning the way you show up when you're in this beautiful service to others that like makes you come alive, but also helps them, and everybody wins. Because again, this is a whole conversation to have, but when you're a service provider, it's typically that it's not that you don't want to help people, it's that you're helping too much and too many. And so, like, let's find your lane. So that was like, let's find your lane. That's your marketing archetype. And now your messaging, your strategy, just how you show up in the world is going to it's like magnetic because you know who you are and how you truly serve.
Right. Because a lot of bad marketing exists where you're basically just scattershot, right? You're just running all the energy you have and pumping it out into all these different platforms and all these different places and all these different messages. But you're saying, no, find your lane, find your niche, find your people, find the thing that drives you and explore that. So, what are some of these archetypes and sort of what drives them to do what they do?
Sure, there's 5 of them. So
Hmm.
I'll just start and,
Please.
I don't want to go on, but just stop me if anything doesn't make sense. So
Oh.
the first one is nurturers. And as you would imagine, their deepest why is they want to make it safe for other people to thrive.
Hmm.
That's their deepest why. And then adventure guides, but
Hmm.
completely different energy. Adventure guides see what's possible for their people before they do and embolden them to reach for those goals
Hmm.
by being bold themselves. So
Right.
you're the deepest why there is that people reach for the biggest things they possibly could.
Right.
Um, the door opener is the one that sees every possible angle, and their deepest why is I can open up new worlds for you just in the
Hmm.
way that you look at something. So you never have to be rigid in the way you approach anything. They tend to be natural educators, and never wanting for ideas.
Right.
So steady presences are the fourth category. And these are people who I have a lot of steady presence clients because they tend to really not want to market, but they have
Really?
the most to
Really?
say. They're the
Right.
people who are this deep treasure trove of expertise, wisdom, a huge network of people, resources. I could go on. And their
Hmm.
deepest why is that you can get from here to there. Like it's going to be fine. And
Right.
they tend to lean back and let people come to them instead of having to go out and chasing people down. And
Hmm.
then the last one is celebrators. And
Hmm.
celebrators, I think, are who everyone else is jealous of. They have a natural flair. They're who we think we should be when we think of marketing. Because, like the
Hmm.
Instagram influencer with all this, saucy sauce, whatever. But their deepest why, a healthy celebrator, because there are, of course, unhealthy celebrators. A
Hmm.
healthy celebrator, your deepest why is to bring the good life to others.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. So which are you?
I am a combination of nurturer, primary, and door
Hmm.
opener, secondary.
Wow. So you have even gone to the place where you are now finding like intersections of archetypes and what their why is. So you're really like, you've really got this down science, huh?
Oh, hun,
Yeah.
really? How much
Yes.
time do you got? Like, it's not just the
How much
intersection.
time do you need?
You could be a nurture door opener like myself, but a
Hmm.
very different kind than I am.
Right.
When I
Right.
first did those 40 initial archetypes,
Hmm.
everyone had their own unique one, but then
Hmm.
they all fell underneath umbrellas. So
Right.
when I work one-on-one with people, we go deep into their very specific archetype. Like
Right.
the types that I just share with you, that's kind of
Hmm.
step one. It's like
Yeah.
level one.
Right. Right. Well, I am a nurturer celebrator, so I am not surprised to hear this. Um, so what do people usually, I would say, what do people usually come to you for when they are like, oh my gosh, maybe it's time to call Christina? Like, what are some of the things that they're saying to themselves? What are the stories they're telling themselves?
So let's say they are a financial advisor. They've been
Mm-hmm.
at it for a while.
Mm,
And at least 2 years. Those are the
yeah,
people I work with. And so they
right,
know who they need to be working with. They also have developed probably a unique approach,
right.
and
Okay.
they feel a bit confined in how they express it
Mm-hmm.
because all the standard channels of marketing are sort of what you described earlier, which is just like, I'm just like churning it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, right.
So, but there needs to be depth in the way that they present themselves in order
Sure.
to really build trust with people that don't know them.
Right.
So, that is the perfect person. They know they have a unique approach. There's subtlety, depth, massive expertise. How the heck do you put that out in a thoughtful way that then gets you great clients?
Yeah. How do people like that overcome that instinct to just keep, trying it the way that they've always tried it? Change is hard, right? Especially when we're talking about change that makes us better, like hiring an expert or something like that. How do they overcome that tide against doing something about it?
Yes, I'm really glad you mentioned that, Di, because marketing is no easy thing for people
No,
who are,
not at all.
even
Yeah.
for professional marketers, it's no
Right.
easy thing. So,
Right.
one thing that I have noticed is that because it's confronting and you need to sort of kind of evolve into a different kind of leader with this
Yeah.
type of marketing,
Right.
that I have made sure that my clients have the best tool that I have at my disposal, which is
Mm,
something that I created back in the day, like 20 years ago by now. And
right.
it's called the generosity practice. That is also part of my TEDx talk. And
Yep.
here's what it really boils down to. There's a lot of, we could spend 3 hours just talking about the generosity practice, but
Mm,
here is what it gets at. You ask a question of yourself: what feels good to offer to life today? I'll
right.
say it one more time. What feels good to offer to life today? This has been the guiding question of my life
Mm-hmm.
for about 7 solid years. Like
Mm,
every day I think about this question, and it changes every day. This question, while it's just a question and a bunch of words, it's also a way in to this part of yourself that naturally wants to serve, but needs to be focused and clear, right? Like if you
mm-hmm.
close your eyes and you think about the answer to that question, whatever might drop in as you imagine the answer,
Mm-hmm.
the deepest, I'm just going to totally nerd out about the deepest level. The deepest level is when you're almost like falling asleep and having those dreams come in. It's like dream consciousness, right?
Right.
You're
Right.
a really like seasoned meditator and you can just like get out of your own way and let the wisdom drop in. Like
Mm-hmm.
the gifts that come in when you're in that state.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I'm a better decision maker. I can easily
Wow.
say no. I can,
Right.
right? Like just
Yeah.
on and on, more confidence, more willingness to get out there,
Right.
way more energy
Right.
to help people. You can discern whom you should or should not be serving at this time. Like
Right.
just, it's
Right.
bonkers. So I have everyone I work with, they're just going to use that tool for 30 days before we dive deep into how they're going to market themselves.
Yes, yes. And that's so true too. I know we've been having this conversation offline about I was saying yesterday when I saw you that in 2024 I'm going to try to say no more. And it's the peak of all the other things that are sort of adding chaos to my life, right? Because I won't say no, I am helping people who don't need my help. I am running out of my energy. I have less energy to spend on the people that really like can be saved and do want my help, and projects that I actually can drive further rather than just running my face into the wall. And it seems like that's what you're talking about too. You're talking about stop doing those things, say no to people that aren't your people. You don't need to serve everybody. You don't have to have, every single service. You can have your specific service and be just as successful and just as impactful. Do people kind of look at you like you're crazy when you tell them that?
Tell them to say no,
Yes.
or
Tell them that they can rein it way in and be more successful than they have been. Right.
so honestly, not everybody's ready for that. And
Right.
I've done this long enough and I've done the generosity practice long enough that like I trust my own inner knowing
Yeah.
to whether or not it's a yes or a no. And it happens almost instantaneously, honestly.
Right.
So just, I think the belief that we don't have to be all things to all people
Right.
is sort of helpful in that scenario.
Sure.
I'm actually to know that in the deepest part of yourself that you are meant to serve certain people and you
Mhm.
don't have to go chasing every opportunity. I mean, there's a time in your business where you do need to do that,
Right.
but
Right.
eventually, I think yes, it's about the other person and their response, but first and foremost, it's about you. You have
Right.
to know in the deepest part of yourself that you are meant to serve a certain segment of the population and you don't need to waver or compromise and
Right.
work with just anybody.
Right. Right. Wow.
That can be scary. It can
That
be scary
can
when
be
you
scary.
you have rent to pay, you know.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, that can be scary. I agree. So, besides your amazing nerd science well, I'm going to call you marketing nerd science. Besides your amazing marketing nerd science, what do you think has most informed your practice in your ability to sort of have that inner knowing, have that confidence in yourself and in your knowing?
Well, I won't beat around the bush. It's actually my psychic ability, and let me be really clear about that. Uh, because I tend to feel energy everywhere I go, and that can
Mm.
go really well. It
Right.
can go really south too.
Really terrible. Yep.
Right? Like most
Yes.
of my growing up life, I was like, why do I feel like crap when there's
Hmm.
nothing in my life that,
All the time.
right? Just so always at the effect of like a blob that
Hmm.
other people probably were, I was just feeling their trauma or their anger or
Oh yeah.
whatever. I was
Yeah.
just feeling it all. So as someone who wants to connect always with people, what
Hmm.
has really served me is the ability to see energy, to close
Right.
my, not to have to protect, because I think a lot of sensitive people or highly sensitive people or whatever we call ourselves
Mm.
feel like, well, you need to have protection mechanisms. And
Right.
I'm here to say protection mechanisms have not helped me. What has
Mm.
helped me is true awareness. So, for
Sure.
example, if I'm around somebody, I'll just go back to the holidays because I was just in California with my parents. And,
Hmm.
my dad is in his 80s and there's a bit of grumpiness going on. And,
Sure.
I have a few choices because he has opinions about how I live my life and it can really get to me. And so, I can either be at the effect of that. I can go somewhere else, like, oh, I'll just hole up at the Starbucks and be around them as little as humanly possible. That's like the
Right.
protection strategy. Or
Sure.
I could sit down and just look at the freaking energy.
Right.
Where's my dad right now as a spirit? What is he handling? Where am
Hmm.
I as a spirit? And I just look, like just it's very mechanical. It sounds
Right.
like magic voodoo, but it's very mechanical and practical once you know the tools to do it. Again, it's like being in your sixth chakra. And
Right.
suddenly, when you're looking at something, you're no longer taking anything personally
Right.
at all. You're just
Right.
like, it's just an energy mechanic. And
Right.
so it washes over me. And I'm not saying it's always easy. I got to stay on my game and really be intentional about that stuff.
Sure.
But what a amazing place to be that I know it's always there for me. Even
Right.
if I'm really upset at my dad, I'm
Mm.
like, but I know in my bones that if I just had 20 minutes to myself, which is, I can do that, no worries, get out a journal and just like start writing the energy that I see, I can get through
Sure.
freaking anything.
Right. Right. Well, and it helps you predict everything around you because you understand people's motivations, right? So once you understand those things, you are able to sort of steel yourself against what may or may not, come your way. So your dad's a really strong person, presence, if I'm remembering correctly. Um, how is that impacting your life? What does he have a problem with? I mean, you're an awesome person. What's his beef with how you're living your life?
He wants me to be running his engineering company,
Oh
making
wow.
a lot of money, and I'm single and don't have kids, and he wants me to be married and have like 3 kids plus or whatever. So he just has opinions about that. I know that he doesn't mean badly, like he totally
Right.
loves me and that's
Right.
fine.
Right.
But his opinions, they get to me, and yeah. So it's not like some of these things are harder than others. Like I would love to be in a relationship right now, and it's a
Sure.
little slow going over here. So it's fine.
Well, I mean, the state of it. The state of dating can't be put on your shoulders. That's ridiculous. Goodness gracious. It's a nightmare scape out there.
Well, that being said, I will say that, I know that there's the reality of what's going on. And that's, again, a whole other podcast that we could go off
Sure.
on. I have been, reading Joe Dispenza's work
Mm.
recently, which just reminds me here's a dude who's actually put science to mindset. It's
Mm.
bonkers, right?
Mm.
Like where you put your attention and the actual legit changes that are happening in our bodies and circumstances when we focus ourselves in a certain way. So I'm trying to remember that even in the
Mm.
areas of my life that seem unbelievably hopeless, and just I'm practicing just living as if. I'm very,
Right.
very committed to that right now. Like every single day, I do this special meditation sequence that is going from my sixth chakra to my 13th chakra. I literally just
Mm.
did it before I got on this call. It
Mm.
is it is just like, talk about a magic carpet ride. Like that,
Right.
that whole way of being is my way of feeling like I'm already in a loving partnership now. So it's like, whatever it takes, I'm just
Right.
completely committed to be like, all right, I'm not going to complain about the guy I just talked to on Hinge and how he treated me and whatever. Nope. I'm going to step right into like, I am in this wonderful partnership right now. And here's how I do it.
God, I am not a good candidate for the dating world. All I think about is just like, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but it's my podcast. Y'all are listening, whatever. Like, oh my God, there are like just so many unhealed people out there just like projecting their garbage onto other people. And I'm always like, oh no, thank you. I think I would like, I get the whole, oh, you're gonna die alone, you're gonna be a cat lady. Like, oh God, don't threaten me with a good time. You know, like I've started to feed the crows and it is definitely like my best life. Okay. Like I have Chihuahua energy. I am not sure that I would go back out into the dating world if I were not in my particular circumstances. So like I am
there's dating and then there's love, right?
true,
So there's like the process of
true.
finding what you want.
Right.
And then there's what you want.
Right.
And so it's a very interesting dance to just be really clear. Like, yes, I would actually love to be with someone, live with them, have these kinds of moments together, support each other in this particular way, have this kind of fun, all this stuff, right? I'm not going to waver.
Right.
Like it's
you shouldn't.
decision after decision after decision not to waver from that potential reality. And then you've got like the day-to-day foibles and craziness that you, and then the other thing that you bring up is like, yes, maybe we do live in a world where a lot of men in particular, but I actually think it's women too, are just not addressing their inner life in a way that they potentially could. And then what is our responsibility as people who've done a ton of inner work? I mean, and frankly, I'm not even going to put myself on any kind of pedestal because frankly, I couldn't function in the world if I didn't have inner awareness. Like it's always coming from suffering.
Right.
Huge humility on all of this stuff. But the thing is, certain things work and certain things don't. And when people are just stuck in their own story, like full compassion, if I can possibly have it for them. And if there's a rampage of people who are involuntarily celibate and pissed off about it, it's like, what do we do with that as conscious beings to show them compassion without making it our job to fix them? Right. That is like the artistry we are tasked with, I feel, right now.
You know, the fascinating thing about what we're discussing here between what we started with and where we are now is this is the exact same blueprint when we think about it from 10,000 feet, right? You know what you want, you're going for that thing, have your ideal in your mind, and that is the thing that you are going for. You understand human behavior, human psychology. That's just so fascinating that you are solving these amazing problems in exactly these same marketing nerd science ways. That's just so
fun to bounce between, you know, the magic sauce of the right brain.
Yes.
And the mechanical stuff in the left brain.
That's exactly right. You're exactly, it's the same conversation just flipped over. I think that is completely fascinating. So if that is the case, then gosh, if that is the case, you probably understand more about human behavior, at least on the outside, than your average bear, right? Like, so you are more aware of why humans behave the way they do. Does that help you in your day-to-day life at all when you're out there in the world? I mean, like, it's chaotic out there and you're feeling people's energies all the time. Is that informing you at all? Like how much you understand about people's motivations?
I'm trying to think of how, like when I'm out in the world, you know, I'm thinking of specific instances of when I'm out in the world. So for example, you know that I'm the president right now of our BNI.
Yes, I do know
and
that.
I love our BNI. It's great. And I would say that the way that it plays out in that scenario is that I'm very intentional about the vibe that gets created in that room.
Yeah.
And when, as you know, I'm just going to say I'm the leader of that meeting because I'm basically facilitating it. So the thing that I can do in that instance is, let's say there's like 5 people having a crappy day. And, you know, as a sensitive person, I could let that affect me. Or I could be super intentional about the vibe I want in the room and then do everything possible to create that, which then would have an impact on like, if the meeting goes well and there's more and more enjoyment, I'm not saying it's all on me that happens, but like the person who's running it does have some impact about the feeling of what's going on and the tone that gets set. And so if you suddenly have like 20 people going in a, you know, they're a little jollier than maybe they would have been, or they're, you know, just having more fun and then the people having the crap day or not feeling well, how could they not be impacted by that? You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so it's like, my domain is the feel of that room. And I know that if it is going in a good direction, like my work is done here. Everything else kind of handles themselves. And I will tell you, yesterday, I needed it. I was in a crappy space. I wanted to punch everyone. And I'm like, but no, I have generated this beautiful meeting for, you know, months and months and months. And now I'm going to benefit from how
you got to benefit from this energy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it worked. I walked out of there like way better than when I walked in.
Right.
So if it works on me, stubborn Christina, you know, here's the thing. Like, as much as I'm aware of energy, when I get into ruts, boy, they are not pretty. The reason I have to have superpowers is that like my ruts are really horrible and ugly, and you do not want to be around me on those days. Like I need magic voodoo sauce to get. So that's why I know that stuff.
Self-awareness. That's incredible. That's not very common. So I think people think that they're self-aware, but I think people reject change a lot more than you would think.
Yeah, and I would always say that the only times I've ever really changed and gotten more self-aware is when I'm around compassionate people that show me it's possible and believe in me.
Yes.
So full respect. I'm stuck in certain ways just like anybody else. And I wish I would beat the door down and crawl on my hands and knees for a level of compassion that would allow me to believe that I could actually move through whatever this current pain is. I take that very seriously as far as like the compassion that I have the energy to offer anyone at any given time. Let me just do it. Except when I'm behind the wheel and someone is in front of a light that I know is going to be 3 minutes long if they don't move their stupid vehicle through it, and we're going to be here for another then I'm just like losing my crap. I will admit it. Yeah.
I have like an idea, like I'm just seeing in my head the light that you're talking about, and I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like I had this immediate flash of right where we are, and I'm like, yep, that's valid. That's valid. I know what we're talking about already. So I have to ask you because, you know, as I said, speaking of sea shanties, you are such a cold dipping fanatic. Describe to everybody what that is.
So it just means that you walk into the ocean waves, even when there's a storm.
Yes.
Ocean, in a snowstorm.
Yep.
Rain, shine. My limit is 25 degrees Fahrenheit. I will not go in water if it's below that. Yeah, that's my limit.
And people do anyway? Like people just get in regardless?
They did it yesterday. People go in between because there's such a big community. There's like 175 people, I think, on the thread.
Yeah.
So we're like, how about we dip today? So yesterday they all went in. And as you'll recall, it was like 19 degrees out.
I do recall it being 19 degrees.
That is a hard pass for me.
So now we know the mechanics of it. What is the why? Why are we doing this? Why are we getting into the ocean?
Okay, well, Andrew Huberman could answer that better than I could. I will put it this way. The thing that really, because there is a lot of immune function stuff and inflammatory stuff that gets handled. But I will say this, we have trillion-dollar industries that are devoted to making our life comfortable. Are you with me? Like we need to be comfortable at all times, 72 degrees, comfortable seating. You know, I don't have to move for 3 hours solid. And this is sort of a big FU to the need for constant comfort. And it just has given me fortitude and faith in myself that I can. I mean, it's not like I don't shy away from things that scare me, but boy,
definitely not.
I just have a lot more faith in my ability to face anything.
Yeah. Yes. So, okay. So that's cool. I mean, you know, I used to travel on my own. So I used to feel like that meant I could do anything in the world.
Oh, that's great.
So I definitely get the idea that, no, this is something that I can do. And now I know the level of things that I can do and things that I can try and don't have to shy away from. So speaking of traveling on your own, you just got back from London this year, right? Or last year, I guess it's New Year, but you just went to London on your own, right?
Well, I actually went with a group that was organized by the podcasters, the History Chicks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. I love that story, please.
Yeah. So, I mean, we just went and saw places that related to different podcasts that they had talked about. For example, I believe Winston Churchill's mother was featured. Jenny, I don't remember her last name. But anyway, so we went to Blenheim Palace.
Sorry, England, we're Americans. Apologies on that one. Please continue.
Yes. So Blenheim Palace, if you've ever watched Bridgerton in season 2, yeah, when the wedding gets called off and everyone's milling around outside in this beautiful courtyard with the castle, like that's the place. That's Blenheim Palace.
Wow.
Little did I know that Winston Churchill was, I mean, basically at the absolute top of society. I thought he was just some regular dude who just happened to be really smart. No, he was basically living in a house that rivals or maybe surpasses Buckingham Palace.
Right.
That's where he grew up.
Wow.
So and so we were basically straight up tourists, which I loved, and it was great meeting people. I will also admit readily that after seeing 3 gigantic castles filled with things that prove their wealth and power, I was bored. Like, I was so bored. I just wanted to like crawl into the sewers I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. This is I want to sit down and be creative. I want to generate something new. I want to look at things from a weird, funky perspective instead of just being a consumer of like, or just an admirer of wealth and conquest.
Right.
I did that for 20 minutes. But please, like, I just wouldn't do it for an entire 8 days again.
Right. That's a fascinating perspective on history, especially as you consider what we might have been seeing. That's really interesting. So, consumerism aside, what was your favorite part?
Honestly, it was when I was on my own after it was over, and I found the best cup of green tea at this area of London I had never heard of called Islington. There's this incredible, I think it was Katsuta, this incredible Japanese tea cafe. And that day I started there at Katsuta, and then I just wandered. And it is just like, I'm just thinking of Chris Martin from Coldplay. Like, if I were that wealthy, I would choose to live in Islington all day, every day. Like, it was like Notting Hill, maybe even more charm, with just gorgeous parks where I would walk into these parks and it would be so silent. You would not know you were in any kind of urban area at all. It was absolutely exquisitely beautiful. Plus, it had that feel in certain places of a friendly marketplace where everybody knows each other, that kind of vibe, plus the funkiness of, cute little cafes and gorgeous stores. Like, it was heaven.
Right.
Yeah,
well, you live in a cute little area that has cute little bookstores and cafes yourself, so I can see why that might be your vibe in general. I love that for you. So, what is next on the horizon for you? You've done your TED Talk. What else? What's next?
So, I would love to honestly be like a featured speaker at a conference. That would be, I'm working on that. And the other thing is, I would love to have a group program. The things that I do are kind of claiming and reclaiming the jolliness of connecting with more people in your life so that you can get clients. And what a wonderful thing to do to really connect with other people who are doing the same. And I will be honest with you, I have a bit of a fear. I realized this really, really a lot on this past Friday, that like, I just have a fear I can't do it. Like, I'm just at that. That's not going to stop me, but I have this fear that I cannot generate a group program. So I'm being honest about that. But if it were a group program, it would be a way to just super connect with how much you love serving people, just like we've been talking about, but just doing it together. Doing it together at a lower price point than, a boutique coaching package with me. So I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
That's so fascinating because I watch you from the outside doing those things all the time. I watch you pulling in all of these people and having these amazing, meetups and conversations via Zoom. And you did that all the way, like all the time I've known you. Of course you can do it. You already do it. You
Yeah.
already pull
Um,
people into your orbit and
yeah.
just make them better all the time.
I
So
appreciate it. I'll keep you in my corner. I'll do
please,
what I say.
what would
Yeah.
Dice exactly? Exactly. So
Strategy sessions. Okay. Let's do it.
I I will keep bringing my Chihuahua energy into 2024. So, I would love to talk to you forever, but I know you've got stuff to do. So, how can people contact you if they want to work with you? And what is something that you would love them to do if they were really inspired by this conversation?
Sure. So just go to my website, which is innatemarketinggenius.com,
Mm-hmm.
innatemarketinggenius.com, or just my first and last name, ChristinaFrye.com. It'll take you to the same place. And take the assessment. Find out what archetype you are. If
Yeah.
you're two, you will now get a very specific email just for you. Like if you're a nurture celebrator, like you, Di, there's a very specific sequence that'll be like, oh, this is what that means if I'm
Right.
both of those.
Yes.
So that's a really great way to get started, and it's right on the website. Just what is my marketing archetype? There's like a little link there.
Yes. And join the cool kids club because us celebrators sometimes meet up and get drinks. Um, so exactly, right? So Christina has sent me those links and they are below in the show notes if you would like to connect. Absolutely, you should take her assessment. It tells you a lot about yourself, especially if you own a business like Christina and I do. So definitely go ahead and do that. So, y'all, thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and don't forget to subscribe to the Indomitable podcast for more incredible stories of humaning. Remember, my new book, Indomitable, a foster care story, is available wherever you get your books and is currently 5 stars on Goodreads. Thank you to all of my Indomitable friends who came out to visit me at the book club event last week. It is always so rewarding to see people being impacted by my story and sharing their journey with me. I am so grateful for that. If you have any upcoming events you'd like me to bring the Indomitable experience to, please submit a request via my website. And finally, as ever, I am so happy to have you here in community with me. And remember, together, we are truly indomitable. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.